Hello and welcome to Spooning with me, Mark Wogan. Each week I am joined by a very, very special guest who will be challenged to the food they think they love and the food that they think they hate. The difference is, as ever, I will be blindfolded. Now this week we find ourselves again in my humble restaurant, Home Slice Pizza, here in London's Marylebone. But who is my special guest this week? Well, he is a food writer and journalist of over 20 years. He's been awarded many times for that. He also has some sort of vague royal connection. I can't quite put my finger on it, but we have known each other for years. I mean, maybe since Burger King was a prince. Will you please welcome to Spooning with Mark Wogan, Mr. Tom Parker Bowles.
Lovely to be here, Mark. Having watched it, seen it, laughed.
You've watched it.
I've laughed at all the people, and now I'm slightly scared about what I'm going to be making.
There's nothing to be afraid of. No. Nothing to be afraid of at all. Because what the regular listeners and viewers will know, before coming on, you answer a little question here, food loves, food hates. And given your job, it was detailed, to say the least. I mean, some people, it's like a one-word answer, like, no, yes, hate this. What do you not like? Garlic. That kind of thing. Yours was very detailed, so we've been able to build an interesting menu for you today. But we shall start with something quite simple, which harks back to some of your earliest food memories. Tell us about that.
Oh, you see, that is a tomato sandwich with white bread. I think that's one of the great sandwiches you can have. White bread, people call it cheap white bread.
Yeah.
Obviously, it might be a bit cheaper. It might not be the best for you, but
it has its place, doesn't it?
It has its place in a bacon sandwich and a tomato sandwich. I remember having it.
And cheese on toast.
Oh, cheese on toast, yeah.
You can't have cheese on toast
and
with sourdough.
It's got to be soft, but I just remember having a tomato sandwich when I was very young. A little bit of salt, white bread, and I never forget that taste. It is utterly beautiful.
But it's got to have the right, hopefully I've got the right amount of salt and pepper on that. Should be seasoned. There's a napkin there, should you require it there.
The butter.
Yeah, thick.
Lavishly buttered.
Yep, salted.
Tomatoes, salted, pepper, white bread.
As I always say, if you can't see your teeth in the butter, it's not teeth marks in the butter, it's not butter. No, hold on, don't get too carried away. There is more for you to
Sorry, it's like MasterChef. I stuff my face for the first two dishes, then I'm not hungry towards the end. I'd like to make that really brings back memories, but it really is so simple and so English about tomatoes. But
what I notice is when people come on, the people who have a real history of eating at home and food being an important thing at home are the ones that give the real detail when they answer. I mean, Mum, or Her Majesty, as we refer to her now, was a great cook.
Yeah, I mean, a really good cook. She had to cook, cooking for a boy. There's cooking when it's a Saturday and you're watching the football and you've gone to the butcher and the whole room is filling up with lovely smells, and it's that sort of cooking is relaxing. Then there is cooking for children, of which, breakfast, lunch, tea. You're cooking, I don't like this, I don't like that. It's not so much fun.
Were you a fussy eater as a kid?
I don't think I was, actually, no. I think in those days you ate what you were given.
Yeah.
You didn't really have a choice. There wasn't this, what do you want for lunch? Maybe for a real treat, what do you want for lunch? But no, you didn't get a choice. So you couldn't really be fun. We didn't really like stews and casseroles. We certainly didn't like things like pheasant.
Pheasant, I'd never understood the whole thing of hanging it. It's much nicer if you eat it when it's fresh.
Yes. And
why would you hang it?
Well, it's a very Victorian thing. The Victorians like their meat so much that, it would drop off the hook.
We cover some of the Victorian eating in your new book, Cooking in the Crown. Which I have to say, you always do a kind of, you like a lavish cookbook, don't you?
Well,
it's never low key, your cookbook.
Well, the three Fortnum's books and this follow a certain theme. It's historical, lots of research, but all books of this kind, illustrated non-fiction, are work, are collaborative works. Everyone says it's got my great name on it, and I put the words in. But you've got John Carey, one of the great food photographers, and a great Cure fan. Well, basically, the whole shoot where we were doing, we just swapping Cure stories. Sisters of Mercy, Fields and Effin, that sort of, goth. Alice Petrudo, most
Did
beautiful.
you wear eyeliner as a teen?
No, I didn't. I did like the Cult, and I still like the Cult.
I was listening to the Cult in the car this morning.
Was it? Was She Sells Sanctuary here?
Well, no, the Electric album.
Oh, so I think they're great. The Cult. I love Wayne Hussey, in all his forms. But no, I wasn't. I was more that goth. I think fiddling with goth moved straight into rave, so it was moving at two very different genres. Actually, I suppose things like Osric Tentacles sort of cover across. But anyway,
Tentacle.
the Orcs.
I haven't heard of them for years.
I know, I love, but yes. So it was. But Edward, back to this sort of collaborative thing that the work is done. The beauty of it is it's a team effort. These books, it's just not just me.
But you do a lot of research.
Oh yeah, that's.
And I mean, there are some fantastic. The way you sort of open each sort of meal with an explanation of how that was in the royal palaces and how the different eating habits changed from the sort of, quite frankly, gluttony.
Oh, I mean, Victorian Edward VII, they ate probably about sort of 62 courses a day and all. It was quite how they lived.
And he was built for comfort, not speed.
And so was Queen Victoria as well.
And they all lied about. I mean, I love the stories where a courtier said she had a delicate appetite.
Oh, she eats like a little sparrow, and she was like her very uncle called her a gobbler. She served it, and when you ate with her. Whenever she had finished her course, everything was whisked away, so you had to eat very, very fast. But all this, the research is the most fun thing of the book. The writing's, fun, but the research, I'd never read a royal biography in my life. I knew nothing about the royal family, but I wanted to do a cookbook that wasn't lark's tongues and aspic and foie gras, and do a cookbook that you could use and batter and abuse, and find the recipes I liked in there. There's not a chili in there, which is a very strange thing, but the last 4 books I've written, 3 for Fortnum's and this, are very historical and non-chili, whereas the book before that, Let's Eat, that's being re-released next year, woohoo, is very, very chili, but because my real love is chili.
Your real love is chilies, and we will come to that, trust me. But going back to the beginning, you were very clear in your questionnaire how much you hated the food at your first school.
Oh, it was filth. Utter filth. It was degraded rubbish. It was everything that's bad about English food. It was bad ingredients, cooked without love, slopped onto a plate. You had to eat it all. It was food as punishment. And this is a very, this offended me at age 8.
That school food, you had to eat it quickly, either before you tasted it or someone stole it.
Yeah, well, but if it was nice, someone would steal it. But you used to put certain things in your pocket. And sometimes if you're clever, you can put a plastic bag in. You never, beetroot, which would stain your shorts. Obviously, it's a disgusting colour. But everything about it, everything that was great about British food, let's say the full English breakfast, at school debase, you'd have these greasy, fish-flavoured, ice hockey puck fried eggs, and you'd have that bacon.
Egg to taste of fish.
I think in the 70s and early 80s, cheap eggs tasted of fish. I would have thought because they were fed on fish meal. And those are the days of the really cheap egg, and these were the cheapest of the cheap. The bacon was covered in scum, they've been injected with too much water. The sausages, to Nick Jonathan Meads' phrase, slurry-filled condoms. I mean, it was just vile. And I was just really offended by it. I had a really nice upbringing, hadn't really thought about food. And so suddenly you're sat there eating this sort of
So then you have this whole hideous experience at your first school. You then move to your next school, and the food is suddenly better.
Well, for a start, there was a tuck shop.
Yeah.
You're being greedy. You could go and get a quarter of milk gums, bacon roll with, please, Mrs. Cripps. That was the thing. You're all pushing. Amazing, like this sort of really nice bun, slightly crusty bun, back bacon, but smoked back bacon, cooked crisp with, brown or red. And that was
You were brown or red man, is it?
Yeah, red. I argue with my friend Matthew Fort all the time, who cannot see that it has to be red on a bacon sandwich. And up north is a bit different. But then again, you have southerners who are turncoats and say that you should have brown. What are you?
I mean, it depends on my mood.
Ooh.
I think with back bacon, red.
Yeah.
With streaky bacon, what I quite like is a mix of Dijon mustard and brown. But then one might say I'm a terrible ponce.
That is quite positive for a bacon sandwich. The one thing that is utterly unacceptable with a bacon sandwich is sourdough bread. Sourdough bread is not made.
It's got to be this stuff.
Yeah, when you're cutting your mouth on sourdough bread.
And you don't toast it.
No. It's got to go in enough butter so all the fat mixes with the butter. Oh, that is, people say English food is bad and British food. That is one of the great dishes. And the Greggs one's quite good as well.
The Greggs.
Yeah, I quite like Greggs.
Yeah.
You see,
That's what I quite like about you, is you kind of eat at the absolute higher level, and you're quite happy down here as well.
Down here is great. You can't be a food snob. I love a McDonald's cheeseburger. Is every bit as perfect a food item as anything that Heston or Jean-Georges or Angela make. It is. It's a perfect. It's sweet and salty, and it's.
One might argue it took equally as long to develop as any of their dishes.
It is. I love Greggs. I love Macca's. I'm not Kentucky or KFC, as it's now called. I'll do a zinger if I'm on the way back. I don't want the Tower Burger either. The zinger there's a bit of heat in there. Burger King, no, that can do one.
Now, going back to school, there was one particular, and I've done a hybrid for you. So there was one particular thing that you talked about, which was very much part of my childhood growing up, which was, I've got it over here, which is Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
The ice cream.
The brown cow.
Now, that in my family, my dad used to make these for us on a Saturday.
Yeah.
They were called a Coca-Rooney. Okay. Now, given your hatred of, or dislike, should I say, of whiskey, I'm going to do a combination here. So I've got a pint glass. I've got a healthy shot of whiskey.
Oh, sweet Jesus Christ.
In the bottom of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to load it up. Here, let's get this over.
Is this called it like what they call them?
It's a grown-up Coca-Rooney.
Coca-Rooney, and they call it hard shake or something.
Yeah.
Don't they?
So that in there like that. More or less, do you think?
I think the more the merrier, just to get rid of the taste of whiskey. Actually, I'm trying to learn to love whiskey. We've been up to the 5 harms enough times.
I know. Lovely.
I can drink 1 dram of whiskey, and that's.
Well, hold on. Let me see if this helps. I mean,
that obviously Coca-Cola is one of the greatest drinks of all time.
Yeah. So you've got to be very careful with the pour on this as well, haven't you?
You work in hospitality.
But it's all about the pour, and it's that kind of, it's that sort of creamy, foamy top that
it looks exactly like, when you see it's been raining for a bit and the streams get that pollution. It looks like that.
Right, there you go. Your child in a glass with an adult edition.
I mean, there's about 1 bit of whiskey. And okay, I have to get to the whiskey first. How do I get down to it? Here we go.
Go on, just stick your face in it.
I mean, the Coke's like whiskey, Jesus. Ugh.
Are you saying that combination doesn't delight?
Well, it's basically whiskey and Coke, isn't it? It's the proper 70s rocker drink with ice. Actually, you know what?
What a few people don't know about is that there is a little bit of rock and roll about you.
Oh, I don't think so.
You do enjoy a good time. I think it would be fair to say.
That can be true, yeah. Less good times as I get older. It hurts too much. Bit by bit, every year I'm trying to knock a day off not drinking. Let
me put a bit more Coke in that for you, just in case you wish to return to it.
I mean, Jack Daniels that's Jack Daniels, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went in light for you.
Yeah, is Jack Daniels light?
Well, I mean, it's lighter than, say, a sort of peaty single malt, isn't it?
Yeah, I quite like it. Now, you know what? That makes whiskey drinkable. And again, I want to be manly and I'd love to go into a bar and just say, just give me 2 fingers of whiskey. But I just couldn't drink it. But that's nice.
Well, as you know,
a hard shake. That's very good.
As you know, I don't, for very good reasons, drink anymore. So I won't be joining.
No. God.
Now I want to talk about, because obviously our paths cross many times over the years, but you are disappointingly a little bit younger than me. Because you turned 50.
50 in December the 18th. Yeah.
Welcome.
It is. Welcome. I quite like being 50. I quite like getting old. I have no issue. Apart from everything creaking and having to do Pilates and actually having to do exercise alone, not stop me from being fat. I have to like eat properly,
But I absolutely devoured and loved your first book. The Year of Eating Dead.
Oh wow, thanks. Yeah,
and it really was like, it was such an enjoyable book to read, and I loved your kind of journey and experience and everything that you put into that. And in it, it was the first time you brought to light your obsession with all things chili.
Yes.
Now your fridge at home is a menagerie, quite frankly, of different chili sauces, concoctions.
This is zoo. Basically, everything in my fridge at the moment was either chili sauces I made with from the chilies. I didn't grow any this year. Actually, I did a few. then ones that I've got from all around the world. And I remember with my ex-wife, I used to collect them, and she was like, geez, you've got to chuck some of these away. And I did. I had to. I used to have hundreds and hundreds of hot sauces. But this was like,
Do you have a favourite?
when it comes to Tabasco, has to be the
I love green Tabasco.
yes, my sister's a big green. She reckons it's better on oysters, and I see a point on that.
It's good on oysters. It's great with a fish pie.
Yes.
And bizarrely, as I've said before, very nice on vanilla ice cream.
I get that chili word, so you get that. It's a much more verdant sharpness you get with
Great
green.
on a fried egg as well.
But I carry it on the plane. I carry it I don't have it on me now, but Tabasco is just it's the alpha and the omega. It's the ground zero, the base. But then of course, it's not particularly hot.
No.
Which is about the flavour.
Well, some would argue otherwise, because I think there is, because there's the Scoville scale.
Of course, and it must be what I think it's about. It's quite low. Is it about 70 to 100,000 on Scoville? I'm not sure.
No, for those who don't know, the Scoville scale is the rating of the heat in the chilies, and the hottest one being...
Oh God, you move into extract sauce, which is a whole genuinely a world of pain. What they do is because what makes a chili hot is this irritant alkaloid called capsaicin. And when it hits the mucous membrane or the taste buds, of course, they react by going, oh. So imagine the capsaicin is terrorists coming in to take the embassy, okay? So they've got the embassy, you're in pain. Suddenly, a message goes up, Hereford 252, 455, calling the SAS, and in come the endorphins to take down the pain. And at that point, you get that slightly addictive endorphin. And it doesn't matter if it's chili, exercise, or other various, stimulants, both legal and illegal. Endorphins are the thing that does it. So it is very addictive, chili, to the point where I wouldn't have chili on roast beef or anything that was not necessary. But so anyway, you get towards the extreme sauce. So they're called extract sauces. So they extract the capsaicin, and you get it almost. That's what pepper spray is made from.
Yeah,
and that sort of stuff. Then you get to 2, 3, 4, 5 million, which is it just gets one pinprick on the tongue, and it just starts to rot, and you're just. It's not fun.
I have something here, and I don't know if you ever tried them.
Oh, it's not the chip, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I mean, this is... I'll try it.
The challenge chip.
Where did you find that, by the way?
I think I got it on Amazon, although there are other home delivery services available. So, I mean, I've got two. But I'm thinking, seeing as you're my guest, I might just give you one and see what your reaction is before
I'll give it a go.
try it. Go on, then.
I mean, this is extracts. You're looking here.
I mean,
it's going to be...
It says,
It's a Carolina Reaper.
no ID, no sale, extremely hot stuff.
It's fantastic marketing, this. And you see these people on...
The Red Hot Reaper Chip Challenge, made from the hottest peppers in the world, Carolina Reaper and Trinidad Scorpio.
So these are peppers that are bred for heat. They're both from the sort of habanero family.
They're making sure you can't get in.
And this is what happens at Christmas when Father Christmas comes and gets my... Look at this. You have gloves.
Oh my God!
You probably have to... can you ready? And we usually have
gloves on.
Gloves.
Glove on.
You usually have to sign a disclaimer. It's brilliant marketing. It's like those old William Castle movies of the 50s and 60s, right? Your money back if you don't die or
Okay. So
what
there are instructions.
Okay. So
Eat at your own risk.
prepare some milk. Well, that will do. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Share. How long can you
If
last?
you are pregnant or have a medical condition, please do not eat this chip.
If you don't film, this sums up modern life. If you don't film it and share on social, it didn't happen. That is modern life in a nutshell.
We are, and we will.
Okay,
there we go. Right, are we ready, Tom?
Yeah. Are we going to eat the whole thing or just a nibble?
No, I
think we'll be fitting.
I think a nibble, because
Yeah.
quite frankly, you've got other things to taste. How the hell do you get into this?
I think you need a...
Christ alive, mate. I can't get this in.
No, we might need some skizzers.
Oh, no. Oh, it does that.
Oh, God, I can taste it already. And I haven't even got in. This is going to hurt.
Oh, Christ. This could be the most foolish thing I've ever done on this show. Here we go.
Okay, well, how much are you going to have?
No, well, do we just go?
Yeah, I mean,
Because
I think lick it. I mean, I've literally licked the outside of the packet. Okay, I can have a little bit at the end. I already know it's going to be so hot.
nothing here. Oh, Christ.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, my.
Christ.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. Hold on. Hold on. I'm going to have... Oh, I've got ice cream here. I'm going to have some ice cream.
Oh, that is ridiculous. And also the chip is quite stale.
Chip's horrible.
See, that is...
And the whole experience is off.
Do you want some ice cream?
No, I don't have a bit of sandwich, sorry.
That is terrible. Oh, my God.
And it's a builder as well.
I'm getting on top of it with the vanilla ice cream. That's... Right, that wasn't a particularly good idea, was it, Don?
Oh, sweet Jesus, that's hot. Oh, well, as you well know, this capsaicin, the heat is oil-based, so water just spreads it around the mouth. So you need either carbohydrate or dairy.
Or dairy to take away. It's going off a little bit now.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what I'm noticing is, it comes back between mouth is not giving up.
No. No. It's genuinely unpleasant.
I've got a bit of a sweat on.
Yeah. No,
Do you want some straight Coca-Cola?
I might have a bit here. I mean, no.
I've got another spoon. Do you want some ice cream?
Like this bread is doing
Yeah.
fucking wonders.
The ice cream's fantastic. I mean,
This is the sort of thing that actually hurts your stomach.
thank God we only took a nibble. That is disgusting.
I'm going to seal that up and burn it.
Oh, now you get the endorphins coming in that you feel slightly sort of shaky. Oh God.
Oh dear, that was a terrible
Yeah.
idea. Let's move that away forever. Dear. Right, shall we compose ourselves and move on? Here, let me take your disgusting glove as well. There we go. That gives you a sweaty hand.
Yeah.
Chip gives you a sweaty forehead.
It's like eating a stale chip that's been dropped anyway. Dear God, that's hot.
So, Tom, your new book.
Cooking, there are no chilies, and for once I'm thinking, this is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And that's in the lips. No chilies.
So the book, I really enjoyed this. I like the recipes in it. Like you say, they are accessible, they're good. And the other thing I noticed is, because obviously, as you know, I can cook a little bit. You've had those recipes properly tested.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
The vast majority done by the great Annie Rigg. I can't bake for trophy. They are tested and they work. You know, you're a chef, or have been a chef. You know, because a lot of recipes don't work.
Yep. It's nothing drives you mad. Because I mean, I can open a recipe book, look at it and go, oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. And it was important because the books I've done in my own recipes, I know them off by heart, you know what works. But this has to, and guaranteed, someone will say, quite rightly, I've just bought this book. Even I cooked the ginger nuts and they work. I'm not a baker.
Yeah.
But you hope they work. Yeah, so it matters that these recipes work.
Absolutely it does, because otherwise what's the point in calling it a recipe book?
Having in a cookbook, yes, totally.
But also, as I mentioned before, it's these beginning bits where before you start each meal of the day, you give a little description and a little history, sort of following it from really Victorian times through to the modern day in terms of how it's changed. So, like you say, you've got a situation where, with the Victorians, anything 60 plus courses a day. I mean, how they manage it? Were they asleep a lot, the Victorians?
There was obviously no central heating, but the Victorians and their audience were thinking 12 dishes for breakfast. If you're over the 70, you have a mid-morning snack of a lobster cocktail, a flask of turtle soup, half a bread.
No, but Edward VII never went anywhere. Was it Edward VII?
Yeah.
Never went anywhere without a flask of turtle soup.
Yeah, and that took 20 hours to make. These kitchens were 45 people in there. Some of the dishes would take 20, 22 hours. They had this manpower and limitless resources, and you had in the kitchens at that point, still hot. I mean, the reason I'm making a weird noise,
Literally, here, have another tissue. You're still crying.
Anyway, good God. I mean, the days I used to sort of enter chili eating competitions. Must have been Brian drunk. Anyway, God, it's what's called the repeater. It keeps going. But yes, so you'd have these amazing courses. Then you'd have 12 to 14 courses for lunch. Then you'd have tea, which would be not just cakes, scones, biscuits, crumpets, sandwiches, potted shrimps, egg dishes. And then you're going to have a 12 to 14 to 16 course dinner, which was incredibly rich.
And they didn't have things like Rennie or Gaviscon.
They would have had something like they probably have some sort of opium tincture or laudanum or something. You know, they were quite liberal. Not to say that the royal family took a lot of laudanum, but they were quite liberal with their what would now be called Class A drugs in those days. I think, yeah, for the digestion, you'd have opium. I think actually that'd be anti-digestion. That would block you up. But there was anyway. They ate, you know, a vast amount, and it all changed slightly with Edward VII. George V, who I didn't know so anyway, George V was Edward VII's son, and he was a much more austere naval man. So he didn't like this lavish, rich, wonderful French haute cuisine. Like mashed potato, lamb cutlets, you know, an omelette, very big. And also then rationing came along in World War One. Royal family led from the top, and so there was meat only twice a week. And worst of all, there was no booze. And the whole household, 1,000 people, ran on booze. You know, you didn't get paid much, but you got, you know, you got a lot of good food. When meat was expensive and luxury, everyone ate and drank very well in the royal household. George V he was told not to drink. So after dinner, he would say, I'm going to deal with state business now. And he'd go into study and lock the door. And his son, the Duke of Windsor, would hear this they'd all listen at the door and they heard the drawer opening and then a sort of stopper coming out and glug, 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 glug. And he'd have a sort of glass of port every night, although he'd deny it.
But I mean, given the amount they were eating, they couldn't have had the diaries like modern royals have.
I don't think, it was very, especially with Victoria. Victoria was the last monarch, and I suppose Edward with that absolute power, you know. Although they didn't have the power, not as the Georgians or before, certainly not the Tudors. They were still, you know, the Prime Minister was with them all the time. So they were very much, so they would, you know, Victoria didn't go out for 30 years. You know, she sat in, I don't know, 30, maybe 20. She sat in mourning in her black, you know, that figure we know, that rather rotund, small lady. So yes, they didn't, but I mean, Edward, one of the queries you go in, you know, because there's a whole, you know, it's broken into breakfast, lunch, dinner, you have pantry and stuff. One of his equerries said, you know, the king about Edward VII, he had small breakfast, toasts and coffee, unless he was shooting or racing. Well, probably he spent most of his time shooting or racing. So, and these breakfast in Edwardian times were deviled kidneys and kedgeree and cold grouse, and there was always a rare rib of beef just sliced off on a ham, and there would be eggs 5 ways, and there would be.
I don't eat breakfast.
Not
in fact, I only eat one meal a day.
Dude, that's why you. I might have to know. When do you eat your meal? This is the Bruce Springsteen diet.
Yeah, it's the Bruce Springsteen diet. Usually about sort of 7-ish.
And what would you have, a heavy meal?
I eat what the hell I like for that meal.
And that's one a day.
Yeah.
And as long as you've eaten by sort of 8 and the digestion.
Yes, exactly. So essentially, you're fasting for about 20 hours a day.
And you just live on coffee until then.
Yeah, coffee, and when I eat Carolina Reaper nachos, quite a lot of ice cream.
So that's the Bruce Springsteen and the Chris Martin diet as well.
Is it Chris Martin? I didn't know that.
But you know,
well, I took the view. I mean, you look at Bruce Springsteen. He looks pretty good for a man in his mid-70s.
Yeah,
what's his secret?
He is incredible. I'm so greedy. If I'm at home, the fridge is there. I just wonder, especially as I work at home, and. Yeah, you know, especially if like you get sent a ham or something. I got sent a really good ham the other day, and you know you're supposed to, you know, you get sent things, and if the world you're supposed to post.
Some of us get sent.
But if other
of us have to go to the shops and.
Well, I have to go buy all my stuff, and occasionally you get this. Would you like a ham? Would you not tweet about it? Whatever. And no, but if it's good, but if there's a ham,
you don't really do social media. You only came onto Instagram quite recently.
I quite like Instagram. I sit there, my children hear me laughing all night as I see someone like sort of crapping their pants or something.
If people wanted to follow you, what is your handle?
I think it's Tom P. Bowles. Let's just have a look. I mean, I'm addicted. It's another thing to be addicted to. Twitter's a bit weird these days.
I've never done Twitter.
It's a bit shouty. It used to be quite fun. It was sort of things like, you know, talking about your favourite Italian zombie movie of the late 70s, directed by Fulci. You know, there'd be this rabbit holes you'd go down. And now it's, what am I? Tom P. Bowles, at Tom P. Bowles.
At Tom P. Bowles.
There we
go. For all things Tom Parker Bowles.
Well, nothing. Just you know, this is what I've eaten when I'm on holiday. I think that's what Instagram. It is. I feel in my book days.
Now, the current king, or as you know him, your stepdad.
Yeah.
He's not a luncher. He doesn't lunch, does he?
He traditionally didn't eat lunch. At the moment, I think he's following the advice of whatever his doctors say. You know, but. The incredible discipline, you know, of you know, he's like you, that sort of thing that what seemed 20 years ago strange, the fact that, you know, so many people are doing that, and you can exist. We don't need 3 meals a day.
But he seems like a very focused man, and if he is passionate about something, he makes sure he knows everything about it, which is, in particular, which you cover quite often in the book, is his knowledge of food, farming, rare breeds. You know,
It is profound, his knowledge, and I always say it's not me being oily and saying, oh no, it's being a food writer for 20, 22, 23 years, 25 years today. Anyway, you have, he just his knowledge is incredible. He's walked the
but he
field.
was ahead of his time, and
So ahead of his time.
when he was a younger man, kind of got scoffed at.
Oh, of course, for sustainability, and he was seen as, you know, the sort of, you know, he was often ridiculed for things that, you know, sustainability, before regenerative farming became a thing, before, you know, the reason that we have our heritage foods and vegetables is because, you know, they not only have different textures and tastes, and especially with plums and apples. You know, the problem is the supermarkets have made us eat, you know, 2 varieties of, let's say 4 varieties of apple, 1 variety of the Victoria plum, because they travel well, they look nice, and, you know, that's all it is.
They're easy to grow.
Easy to grow, you can do it quickly. Whereas a lot of the gauges, you know, I've been writing something for Country Life recently about plums and green. I love writing for Country Life about plums and green gauges. You do a deep dive into it. But of course, you speak to the king, and he knows every single variety and where they come from, the history of them, and what it tastes like. And same with rare breeds. He's been president of the Rare Breeds Survival Trust for about 40 years, and the Rare Breeds Survival Trust is incredible. It finds native breeds that are at risk. But yes, so you know, the reason you have, you know, the belted Galloways in Galloway was because it's cold up there, but they're perfectly adapted. So it makes sense to have the animals that adapted to their region in the region. That's why they're there. So he has forgotten more than I ever know about food, and I can go to him and ask about anything. And that is a genuine, as a food geek, it's brilliant.
And as you know, obviously you got to know him because your mother married him, and I mean, one thing we do share in common, it's funny, we've never really talked about it, is what it was like growing up with a parent of note.
Yes, I mean,
It's challenging, isn't it?
I do think your father was probably the most, apart from the Queen and the then Prince of Wales, probably the most famous man in the country.
Yeah, I mean, especially at that sort of formative age, between sort of, for me, between 13 and sort of
And that's the same
21.
time. It's the same time as, I suppose, the tabloids, and they were pretty unregulated in those days, started to take an interest. I was at school, and at Eton, there were so many sort of daughters of sons of billionaires and kings and presidents. They were particularly unimpressed, thankfully. No one could care less. No. But, you know, you would read this, because your father was a national treasure. You know, you'd always get, well, there was a period there, you know, my mother, it was a really rocky period. The papers were against her, you know, everyone. I mean, she was never pelted with bread rolls, but, you know, it was a interesting time, you know.
I mean, difficult in terms of, you know, the thing for me was, there was a period there where I had no identity of my own.
You were just
Terry Wogan's son.
Yeah.
Did you find that as well when you were doing that? Oh, that's Camilla's boy.
Yeah, totally. And it's definitely at university, where certainly party, you know, people would be pointing and saying, yeah, and that's why I got into trouble in this. I didn't think.
What we're going to film you doing now is,
I love this.
Putting on the blindfold, because we've got to that point in proceedings where I'm going to give you your first spoon. Are you ready?
I am ready
to don the blindfold. Here we go. It is time for your first spoon, sir. Now, let me just...
But I know goat cheese is going to be involved somewhere.
No, well, let's not start. Here is the first cloche coming in. Now, I will feed you, Tom. This is an exercise in trust. Here
Yeah,
we
I'm
go.
only going to put it in my mouth.
Well, hold on. I'll tell you when to. Otherwise, you'll look like you're entertaining the invisible man. But right, let's just get a little mouthful of this for you. It's got everything on it there. Open wide. There we go. Now, what have we got? What can you taste? What are the flavors, textures?
Potato chip.
Mm-hmm.
Fish.
Mm-hmm.
Lemon peel.
Mm-hmm. My God, he's good.
No,
You've got a bit of previous with this, though.
not that it's.
Can you guess exactly what it is?
Is it fish pie?
No, take it off. It's Queen Elizabeth's
Oh, God.
favourite, which is the fish
fish
cake with poached egg.
That's
and
very good.
hollandaise.
Good God, that's good.
Cooked exactly to the recipe in your book.
How was on this? No. I don't really eat salmon anymore. That's really good. Did it have that little bit of lemon in there? 'Cause that lemon really gives...
Yeah. No, that was, in fact, Susan, my wife, commented because I cooked these last night. And she's like, oh my God, the addition of the lemon and the ketchup
Yes, that is.
is very clever.
That little bit of lemon peel in there really lifts it. And then Mark Broadbent, who's royal chef, is an incredibly good cook. But it helps being cooked well by someone who's actually a chef.
So there you go.
That's very good.
Then your first spoon. So what is next book-wise? Because obviously we're promoting this, but you were saying they're re-releasing...
They're re-releasing Let's Eat, which is I have a notebook, which I've had for years and years, one of those leather ones.
Yeah. So is it like an updated version of that?
So it's basically, every time I go on Saturday Kitchen, which I love doing, firstly because I love Tebbert. And
Well, you have a bit of history, because you and Tebbert, as sapling
yeah,
media types, did the unfortunately defunct Market Kitchen, which was Johnny, the producer's favourite programme.
Did you enjoy it? Hey, it was brilliant. And Matthew Ford, Tana Ramsey wasn't there for very long. Di Henry, one of the great food writers. Yeah. It was really fun. And as a food writer, everyone would come to you. The only people who didn't come on the show, I think Jamie was under contract to Channel 4. I think Gordon used to come and go, the cheap set, because he was downstairs doing F1.
Yeah.
But
That's not
everyone
like
came on.
him to be...
Actually, you know what about Gordon? Funnily enough, there are lots of in the industry, but he isn't one, because you'd be amazed that he's incredibly, you always check on how people treat runners. It's like a rude to waiters, and that's what you can tell them straight away. He's always incredibly nice on set. He was a sort of gent, although he shouts and swears and all the rest of it.
He does shout and swear, but he knows why the machine works and what the component parts. And I think you get that as a chef. You understand that person there and that person there plays a role. You've got to kind of bring them all in if you want to end up making your own life better and easier.
And he was, but then, Tebbert I love, and Saturday Kitchen is like going on it.
He's another man that it is dangerous to spend an evening with.
I can't,
He was one of the early guests on Spooning.
Oh, was he? What did he have a drink?
I can't remember. What did we have? No, he had a Long Island iced tea, which all the white spirits in one glass, masked with Coca-Cola.
He loves a bit. Saturday Kitchen is, because it's live. It's like, it's Amanda Ross's great program, and Matt and Michele, the homemade. It's like coming to a warm bath. You sit, you drink it. Ollie Smith's usually on it, if not.
Never been invited.
Have you not? Well,
Amanda.
get a book and go and.
I've got to write a book to do, haven't I? I've got to write a book.
Or you cook if you got, because
I
you're
can cook. I've dropped the hints. They don't want me on there. I don't know what it is.
But it does, aside from being fun and like a family, it's my favourite show there is. It also is brilliant for a book. It's absolutely, you're getting to the greatest audience. But
because the other one who's fantastic for a book, which I heard you on and you were very good, was Chris Evans.
I love Chris Evans. Like you, he reads the book and he'll go really deep into it. Chris is, he's a remarkable man.
Well, I think it's, if somebody has gone to the trouble of writing it and they're coming on your show to talk about it, I think the very least you could do is read.
Well, I think that you are an outlier on that, because not everyone does. Everyone's like, winging it and
tell me about this.
Yes, and then obviously haven't read it. I don't mind if someone hasn't read it, but yes, Chris, there's certain shows you go on. But anyway, back to the book. It's called Let's Eat. So I had this notebook, and every time I found the recipe across the world, I test it 3 times and put it in the notebook, and that's what it was. And so Let's Eat. Every time I go on Saturday Kitchen and mention it, it goes up. So it's out of print. So people, where can I buy it? And so obviously the publisher.
But it is a great book, because it's a lovely kind of just snapshot of you and food, and I love the idea that it would get updated and we'd see how much further you.
It is, and actually the recipes it was 15 years ago, I think. So there's all the bit on children's food, when you had that whole time blitzing, sort of, even things like liver and stuff. But it's got a lot of chili in it. It's got a lot of Mexican food. It's got a lot of Thai
You
food.
loved, because the original book, the Year of Eating Dynasty, Mexico was a big.
It is
in that, and I've from a cooking point of view, I've only really just started to experiment and look at Mexican food, and it's just endless.
I think Mexico is up there with India, China, France, Italy, as one of the great world cuisines.
But you also love Thai.
Love Thai. I mean, Thai is I go usually about once a year. I go for David Thompson, who is actually just opened Longchin here. Actually, he's one of the gods. His book on Thai food. He's married to a Thai guy. He speaks fluent Thai, and
Which is not easy.
not easy at all. And you go around with him. You go to the south where the curries are browbeating. You know, it's so hot.
Well, they're the yellow ones, aren't they?
The yellow ones, and down south, when you get down towards the Muslim south. But then you have
I had a yellow monkfish curry
where? Yeah,
at Kiln,
I like Kiln. Yeah.
and that was almost as hot as that
Oh no,
nacho we
with the Thai, because it's all about balance. So you'll have a searingly hot sort of kuagling if you're down the south, or a larb or something up north. But then you'll have balance. So you have a very, maybe an omelette and a plain soup. So it's all about the balance. It's not just about superheat, but my God, when you eat it, and some of the somtam, the papaya salad on the streets, I went with Giles. Has Giles been on the show?
Not yet.
But yeah, we go in and you go and travel with him. And Thai food is so complex and so regional, and so it has a royal cuisine, very very sort of exalted and sophisticated raw food, and right down to street food that has everything. And the Thais, like the Mexicans, are just obsessed with food. But back to Mexico, it has the regional differentiations, incredible. You got from the Yucatan, across to sort of Puebla, to down to Veracruz. Amazing cuisine.
Well, I've got some more amazing cuisine for you here under the second and final cloche. So back on with your blindfold, if you would, sir.
It's very fetching, this blindfold.
Are you blind?
Absolutely. But this actually is genuinely blind, isn't it?
Right. So here it is. Open wide. Here we go. Ready? What have we got there?
That goes. Speed away down these.
Take the blindfold. So, it's a mozzarella olive that I blended the goat's cheese with lemon juice, chili, and olive oil.
Beautiful.
And then injected it inside the olive, paned it in breadcrumbs, and deep fried it.
You know what? Genuinely, that is very edible.
I'm pleased that we've sort of...
When I felt the balls in my mouth first, I worried, but
Because you really hate goat's cheese, don't you?
Well, actually, I'm learning, because it annoys me that a full quarter of the cheeses, they look so pretty, and they're little, pyramids and blocks. So I'm trying to teach myself to get over it. I did it with coriander. I used to hate coriander. I love coriander. I can't live without. And you think about Thai cooking, they're not just using the leaves. They're using, they're pounding the stems, and you've got the seeds as well. It's a fantastic plant. I mean, like all of these, medicinal as its purposes. But goat's cheese,
Would you now, having had that, eat the second spoon?
I'd have one of them. Yeah, I'd definitely have one of them.
There we go. We'll let that. I'll see that as a victory.
But I like the olive. The olive. I mean, there's a brilliant new restaurant I went to. I'm sure you've been to it, up in Notting Hill. It's a good restaurant, Notting Hill shop. Actually, there are a few good ones now, but it's called Canteen.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this.
It's on Goulburn Road, where Pizza East used to be. It's from the guys behind the Pelican and the Hero, and it's two River Cafe chefs, and it is just the most incredible food. But the reason I'm saying that is they do an olive like this, but it's with enduja, stuffed and then deep fried, and they're just deep fried olives.
But as I always say, what is not improved by deep fried?
True that.
Look, Tom, what you are very good at is writing books.
Oh, thank you.
And long may you continue. This, I would argue, is probably the best Christmas present you could get anybody.
Who would I be?
So Tom Parker Bowles, Cooking and the Crown, available wherever you get your books. Congratulations, it really is another cracker. I love the lavishness of your books, and I look forward to the reprint of your others.
I will bring it in, and God, that was a joy. Sometimes these things can be quite boring, and that was purely joy. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Well, I'm pleased.
Sitting down with a friend and eating, or apart from that bloody...
Yeah, we won't mention the hot chip. But that is all we have time for this week. I would like to thank Tom, of course, and I will once again mention his fantastic book, Cooking and the Crown. Do go and get it. It's lovely, and any member of your family would be happy with that for Christmas. Join me next week here on Spooning with Mark Wogan, where another very special guest will be put to the test, or will be delighted with whatever I cook. This podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts from and on YouTube. So until next week, stay beautiful.